Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Live Lunch with Sobriety Lunchbox. My name is Victoria Drummond and I am a certified holistic nutrition consultant in Canada, and I specialize in addictions recovery and working with people who are trying to get their health back while they live their sober journey. Today, we are chatting about sugar. Sugar is an all too common issue for people in recovery. It's actually one of the biggest issues that we have in our society today is sugar addiction. It's stated that sugar is actually 8 times more addictive than cocaine, and it does such horrible damage to our bodies. Studies are starting to show that sugar actually feeds cancer cells. It can lead to depression, it can cause inflammation and all kinds of other problems in the body. So it's so important that we try and cut it out. But why is it such a problem in addictions recovery? There's a lot of reasons for that. But before we move forward, I will mention that when it comes to sugar, it's not just about candy bars or individual candies, things like that. It's about refined carbohydrates as well. So things like baked goods, donuts, granola bars, white breads and pastas, and other things just like that. So things that are coming out of packages that have a high sugar content, or really any added sugar at all. These refined carbohydrates, what happens when we eat them is they immediately convert to glucose, which is known as blood sugar, in the body. And so it actually has the same effect as sugar in our system, and it kind of reacts the same way. So here's reason number 1 that you have an issue with sugar in recovery, and it's called dysglycemia. And dysglycemia is the term used for an imbalance in your blood sugar. So that's that blood sugar spike and crash that we talked about. That is actually what dysglycemia is. So studies have shown that up to 90% of people with addiction issues have what's called hypoglycemia. And hypoglycemia is the low end of that blood sugar wave. So when we hit that low spot, our blood sugar has totally crashed, and that can lead to impulsive behavior, angry outbursts, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, and more. So if any of that sounds familiar to you, you may have an issue with hypoglycemia. So it's not clear if this blood sugar issue is triggered by addiction or if it is triggering to addiction. It could be a little bit of a combo of both. Maybe it's not necessarily all in the same case for everybody, but it is super common. It does vary from person to person, but it is kind of obvious that those kinds of hypoglycemic episodes would trigger the desire to use. When you get that low feeling, when you're shaky, when your energy is totally crashed, you imagine that you want to try and make yourself feel better, and it's so much easier to lean to use. Now in recovery, obviously we don't want to turn to our substance, so what we do is turn to sugary foods. And so when we're down low and we eat that sugar, it brings us back up again and actually gets us high in a way. So one of the things with sugar that I mentioned before in a previous video is that it actually has an effect on serotonin, which is our feel-good neurotransmitter. So when we eat sugar, it actually makes our brain feel better for a temporary basis. But then what happens is when we eat sugar and our blood sugar gets too high, our body secretes insulin, and insulin's job is to remove the excess sugar from the body, and it brings our blood sugar levels back down. But what tends to happen is it brings it down too far, and then we get that craving again. We get that low feeling, and we get that desire to use again. So if you don't have diabetes, hypoglycemia can actually happen if your body just cannot stabilize your blood sugar levels. It can happen when your body produces too much insulin, which is common. So to explain a little bit about insulin, insulin is a hormone that your body releases to combat high blood sugar. And what it does is by pulling it out of the blood sugar, it stores it in the cells. But if the cells can't use that sugar as energy, it gets stored as fat. Okay, so that's where a lot of our obesity problems can come from, or weight gain in recovery, is because we've replaced a calorie-free substance or even alcohol with sugar and high calorie foods, and it gets stored as fat in our bodies because it doesn't know how to manage the sugar properly. So the next reason, number 2, that you likely have an addiction to sugar is what's called candida. And candida is an overgrowth of bad bacteria in our gut. And that bad bacteria literally lives off of sugar. It thrives on it. That's what makes it grow. And so what it does is it signals to your body to feed it sugar. It's like a little gremlin inside your body, and all it wants is sugar so it can continue to grow. So it messes with our minds, it messes with our bodies, and tells us that we need to eat sugar. Now, candida can be really difficult to get rid of, but not impossible to do. The challenge with candida is because it can cause a lot of other issues that we might not really register what those are. So some of the things are leaky gut, which is where we're not digesting our foods properly and things are kind of toxifying our systems. Another issue is allergies. So if you've suddenly developed allergies or recently developed allergies over the last couple of years to things that you've never been allergic to before, it could be actually a symptom of leaky gut or candida overgrowth. Depression, brain fog, and even addiction can actually be caused by candida overgrowth. So it really is this horrible kind of little monster that lives in our bodies. Everyone has candida, but it's when it overgrows that's where the problem is. So this overgrowth can be caused by a high sugar diet, high stress, antibiotics, because they're killing not only bad bacteria, but good bacteria as well that would kind of balance out that candida. And then drug and alcohol abuse, of course. So those types of things can actually cause this yeast overgrowth that happens in the system. So I'm going to read you a list of the 11 most common signs of candida in the body. So if you have any of these symptoms, you might want to get yourself checked out for candida overgrowth. So we've got chronic fatigue, brain fog, digestive issues, recurring yeast infections, oral thrush, sinus infections, food allergies and intolerances, fungal infections in the skin and nails, a weak immune system, so if you're getting sick a lot, joint pain, and even low mood. So if you have a combination of those things, then that can actually be signs and symptoms of candida overgrowth. And actually, just to go back and mention the oral thrush, so one of the things that you can look for, stick out your tongue in the mirror, and if you find it's kind of got a bit of a white coating on it, that is a huge sign of candida overgrowth. So definitely take a look at that. One of the other things that might be the reason that you're craving sugar is you have depression, which is totally common in recovery. I mean, part of the reason we use is not because we feel good about ourselves and our lives. Typically, there's mental health issues there as well. So as I mentioned, sugar does increase serotonin levels briefly in the body. And so it's like craving our substance of choice. We just keep wanting it and we want to use it to feel better. So now I'm going to give you a couple ways on how to fix it. First step, get your blood sugar in balance. I can guarantee you're going to have blood sugar issues, and that's totally fine. It's not that hard to balance it out. It's tough for a couple of days, but it's really not that bad, and it will pay off in the long run. So balanced blood sugar is important for everyone. To do that, start by eating your greens, lots of fiber-rich veggies, get your protein in and get your fats in. These things will help stabilize your blood sugar and keep you full. But it's not going to be an instant fix. It's going to take a couple of days for your blood sugar to stop it just kind of naturally wants to start doing that because it's been doing that for so long. It's going to take some time to slowly get that smooth kind of roll as opposed to the spikes and crashes that it's so used to. So eliminate added sugars because that will also help to, keep it from spiking in the first place. Another thing that you want to stay away from is artificial sweeteners, things like Splenda. They're absolutely terrible for you, but also when it comes to blood sugar, the challenge that we have there is that you consume them, your body thinks that you've consumed sugar, and it does the same thing as if you did consume sugar, secretes insulin and causes your blood sugar to dip. So it really kind of handles it the same way, even though you don't have the calories or the actual sugar there. So that's something that you really want to try and stay away from. As I mentioned before, start your day with a healthy breakfast because it will set the tone for the rest of the day. The next thing you can do to help fix it is to reduce your stress and manage your issues with depression. Take care of your mental health. This is absolutely huge for anybody in recovery, sugar addiction or not. And obviously this is a little easier said than done, but just find support, find help to help deal with those issues. The other piece is if you think you have Candida, you can follow what's called the Candida diet protocol. If you don't have an overgrowth, if you don't actually have an issue with Candida, a protocol like this won't hurt you at all. It's actually quite a healthy protocol. If you're not sure how to do that, or if you have Candida, you can work with a naturopath, you can work with a health coach like myself. You reach out and ask questions or book an appointment. I'm happy to work with you guys to help you kind of overcome these issues. We can get a protocol together that will work for you to help eliminate that Candida and eliminate that overgrowth. And it's amazing. I've gone through this protocol a couple of times. It's really tough for the first bit, but once you start to actually beat it, it's amazing how much more energy you have, how much better you feel, how clear your brain gets. Totally worth the effort. You can eliminate all forms of sugar and add probiotics into your diet, which will help rebuild the good bacteria that will help fight off the bad bacteria in the body. So those are my tips for you for today when it comes to combating sugar. So we'll go back over it. Balance your blood sugar, deal with stress and depression, and manage Candida if you have it. And those three things are absolutely huge, and I'd love to help you further with that. If you guys have questions or if you want to work with me, just shoot me an email, send me a message through the website, sobrietylunchbox.com. You can email me at victoria@sobrietylunchbox.com. You can join the Facebook group and reach out to me there, send me a private message. Totally happy to chat with you guys. I absolutely love this stuff. And if you find this video helpful, make sure to share it with your friends, share it with any groups that you're in that you think might find this helpful, and send me your feedback. Let me know how you're enjoying these videos. If you're finding these helpful, if you're finding them too long, too short, anything like that, let me know. I love the feedback, and all I can do is work towards making this better and more helpful for other people. And I hope to see you guys soon. I will be back next Tuesday at the same time. And I have to double check my schedule, but I think we're covering another episode about why your energy sucks in recovery and how to fix it using amino acids. So we will see you then. Bye.